Wole ngambulo luku. With whatever we do. Jioni safu nola. With whatever we do. Hale yidemu new school. Nyepamne ne kudlukula. Nyepangira galagena. Nyepamne ne kudlukula. Ibuloke numoto ni beti sola. Ibuloke ndato ni betoto.
Bigi Congo.
Lamin.
Na.
Lamin ke jine norin te nyame Lamin.
Kabana wulo kono.
Wulo kono nyinte mo Lamin.
Pabilenki.
Muna ngata afamole.
Haina.
Ngata. Ngoto le. Fabrama.
Mingi. Baba nyola.
Ngoto le Fabrama.
Namu jumala kan kuma diten.
Fabrama.
Jumala mu.
Ndele bare muso.
Nunda mana.
Kamo kata.
Jamani mbere.
Alindo ko.
Jamani.
Bari ngoto man kontande.
Bari jamani fana na ramu man kontan.
Ngoto minaka ngalamin je fom filitala. Lamin jibe nori nyala.
Lamin ila sira sama na benki. Yala so tol sayni no ko mo lokku momo.
Ngoto.
Nam.
Iterinte yalo ne Lamin hakilo diata bake karamungoto. Anu santeng ministry ko di ngole si suko na amanke ko be holiday
si bitun
bagona ringa
alani ko kede namo balo
alani na ko na karta bulo be dam alani je
ngoto
nam
ngoto mon kontan fere
jamani mu nekata
ifika Lamin ki wulo ko no nyintay mon ko do fete malo Lamin nyande sila la be la moy kala karango
jamani karamol be soron ne ko fasita wulo ko nako
karamol ma soron ni ko karamol soron da amanke comme holiday lem ngoto dini wonyanta sila la ala karango la moy yamen kamen fue man kontan andamande
alla nyin kombo courant adanda la kombo len do la jankara mol soron do kamen courant ma do la kombo e don dol fanena kara mol soron je kara mol soron Lamin adara lo nyino la amanta ra fena sokon ala munekela
Lamin ite foyde malon ko lesinol be ke kar radio to
nga fine
e ko nyani mo Lamin ya muna fonye
bi kabin mina kan ntambita nteri maning Fatu ndambite la sukala ala diningol bebe siri be la moyka
faru danso am fana tambira jele ni subala la ngaje diningol be jet talanta nen kili warol e be seri jelet
sa Lamin fadante ku kili wo ke no la ba Lamin bitaka wulo ko no nyinta mo Lamin
amandara fennela
ite dine ko ni man si yakaru la suno la moy radio to e balon na
muneka ke afonde ma nyara ni alon
kelentel jikot
afonde ma munebe ke
ite balontel be cikiritel ni man karambe ku kele yaje nata karana mbasa mala ya tarije
par ñarande kombo courant ho findira kombo ide na rajede ni sonka bay ko Lamin ma ñata la wulo ko kara mo be so da fa ne membe
ko to wole nati bayo ngalle ni Lamin kuntala kombo courant e ka fa me kombo courant asototal wala kinay ko e sisu kono bari ni ko e sisu kono be karangol dike la radio lin telel to hani tele masoto to nyaay man tele soto la bongo bar radio be bulen koto batiri sanga ay si ay alamo
sa do kala
nyaadi ko ta ho bulaji
ado kala nyaadi
kamun ke nyaadi
radio abe wala mo la be mona falaje
ibe la karandirol kala jele
ti talle be radio ko men ka karamo
ile subject ro baby jele baby jele
wala nan ka coco moy fa dan so wala ngombe tambi ka nga dinni ngol de be ikadum bungo de ko kada
ma asototal de
Lamin mala be kara wala de
bari laftalal ideal on ko inde every year second wala fourth
muna ni ko di ha ko nde ko folle sinila mba ndele sinilo ne ba
mba foke en koto wala fango yen wulindi yalo famo keta bat ñu fanam bulata ko ko me yen nati jambi Lamin nyanta karana ndel be jiko be nyineka ya bulay kara wulo kono ta kilar ya bambalo yo be bulaje koto dinni ngoy si ayala le sino la moy radio
wara ka munda kara mo man soro Lamin nyanta kara si so na radio
la sila le ayala le sino
dal ko korno ko smalo
kilar ya
ma be ngala ko momo sa imbe do ni ko no kera
mengi bruce
ndelo ko la da ba rosa no radio ba no bari woro radio ni abe jele ba do ngamra do man dembe buljan dala nyara nyar wo ko fendi mo la Lamin tayra ba rosa
bara te ku folo ajibe nori nya Lamin tamete ku
teku
bari ko do famo ke
ja image nani nyambol si zol le keje kisigi man si zol no le kafun ka nyoma bari nyambu kino ni manya na kafinde ni nambe ko zol la ga
ngalle limbeta de be nyambo do dilanna
nyara nim ko ridin fennat nyara nata
bari famo ke da
ngata bungono tammi bungono nyara ngando ko fele ko ke baru nganda ni pelo la ndija
iyo awa
la bungono bismillah bisu diara
ye fongo tanka sina dolu tanka koro ta koro
Good day, viewers and listeners. My name is Omar Ijalo, presenting on a mathematics lesson for level grade 1, 2, and 3. Our lesson today is going to be on angles, but before we start looking at angles, there was an assignment given last time in your previous lesson. So we are going to look at that assignment first, then from there we move to the topic today. In our last lesson, we were given an assignment, and there's a try question. The question reads, name the following types of lines. I repeat, name the following types of lines. Now in your screen, you are given two lines. One is in this form, and the other one is in this form. In your last lesson, you discussed about lines, and you also discussed about the types of lines. So out of these two lines, out of the types of lines given, there are two lines that are given on the screen. So we are going to name them. Now if you look at the first line that we have here, it's a line that is not moving in a straight form. Now you will see that the line here is just moving up, going down. You could see that this type of line is a line that is called what? A curve line, because the line is not moving straight, but it's going up and coming down. Wherever you see this kind of line is called a curve line. We move to the next one that we have. If you look at this line that we have here, it doesn't make up and down, but is in a what? In a straight form. So you will see that this type of line is called a straight line. So therefore, the answer to this question, name the following types of lines. The first line that we have there is called a curved line, and the second line that we have there is called a straight line. We move to the next question and see. Question 2 reads, identify the parallel lines. Identify the parallel lines. You could remember in your previous lesson you discussed about what parallel lines are. And we said parallel lines, these are lines that are moving in the same direction and they will never meet. So we are going to look at these lines that we have on your screen and identify which of them is a parallel line. Is a parallel lines. So we look at letter A, we have our parallel lines in this form, and letter B, we have them in this form. Now you will see that if you want to answer this question very well, what you have to do is you have to, go back to what we said what parallel lines are. We said parallel lines, these are lines that move in the same direction and they will never meet. Now if you look at the first one that we have here, the letter A, the lines that we have there, you could see that this line we have here and the line we have here met at a point. And we said parallel lines never meet and they will be moving in the same direction. And if you look at these lines we have here, they are not moving in the same direction. So therefore, these lines here are not qualified to be called what? Parallel lines. Now if you look at letter B, we have two lines here. Are the lines moving in the same direction? Yes. You could see that both of the lines are moving in the same direction. Are we expecting these two lines to meet at a point? You could see that these two lines are moving in the same direction, and as long as they are moving, they will never meet at a point. So therefore, the answer to this question, identify the parallel lines, the answer to this question would be letter B, because in letter B, those two are parallel lines because they are moving in the same direction and they will never meet. This was the try question given. Now we will move to our lesson proper. If you look at on your screens, you will see something like angles. So our focus today would be only on angles, how to identify an angle. Now you will see it saying that shapes with straight sides have angles. When we have shape with straight sides have angle. How is that possible? Now, we already discussed about sides, and we said a side is formed when a straight line is made. A side is formed when a straight line is made. But we said shapes with straight sides have angles. So you could see that I have here a side. If I have another side, you could see that these two sides, they are made at a point. And the point where these two sides met, they form what we call an angle. So you will see that in this side and this side here, we have two sides that meet at a point. So what they form there is called an angle. That's what this statement is saying. Shapes with straight sides have an angle. Now if I draw another side here, and I also draw another side moving, you could see that we have two straight sides that met at a point. Now the point where these two straight sides met, an angle is formed. So you will see that if you look at this, this is the point where they met. You will see that here an angle is formed, here an angle is formed, here is also an angle is formed here, an angle is formed. So you will see that the point where the straight sides met, we have their angles. Now we move. You say an angle is where two sides met. An angle is where two sides met. And that's what I was just explaining. If you have a side that is, one side is here, and I also have another side here, they met at a point. So in that point where the two sides meet, an angle is formed. It went further and said, we sometimes call it a corner. Now you will see that this angle that we have here is a name, one name, but the other name that we can call an angle is what? A what? A corner. The other name that we can call an angle is what? A corner. If you look at where we have two straight sides meet, an angle is formed. Now that angle that is formed there is also called a corner. So wherever we have an angle, we also call it a corner. Now if you look at on your screen, you have there three shapes. One of them out of the shapes is having this, drawn in this form here. We discussed earlier that angles are formed when two straight sides meet. Angles are formed when two straight sides meet. So in order to identify the angle that we have in this particular shape, what we have to do is we try to identify the sides that we have, because we discussed earlier that angles or corners are formed when two sides meet. Now you will see that if you look at this shape we have here, this is a side, that is 1. This is also another side, make it 2. This is also another side, make it up to how many sides? You will see that in this shape we have up to 3 sides. Now we are going to identify the number of angles we have in this shape. You could see that if you look at, we have one straight line, we have another straight line here, they meet at a point. Now the point where these two straight sides meet, an angle is formed. And this angle, like I said earlier, is also called a corner. Wherever you have an angle formed, a corner is also formed. Now we can also look at whether we can also look at the shape whether we could see another angle. After we have identified this angle, let's try to check whether we will also have a point where two sides meet. You will see that if you look at on top of here, two sides meet there. And we said earlier angle is formed when two sides meet. So you will see that here we will have also another angle. Like I said, two sides meet at this point, so therefore another angle is formed. We can continue to look at the shape again. Now you will see that here we also have another straight line up coming down, that is a slant line, with also a horizontal line. They also meet at a point. So where these two sides meet, an angle is also formed. Now let's look at the shape here and identify how many and count how many angles do we have. You will see that when we have a shape that is having 3 sides, we are able to identify up to 3 angles. Now let's count and see. You will see that where we have these 2 sides met, we have an angle here that is 1. 2 sides meet again. We have another angle here. We also have another 2 sides meet here. We have another angle here. So if we count the number of angles in this shape, we are going to have a 1, 2, 3. So in this shape where we have 3 sides, we have 3 angles. Now let's look at the other shape that we have in the shapes that we have on your screen. Now you could see that it's a shape that is having how many straight sides? We have another shape that is like this shape here. Now if you look at this shape we have here, the first thing, like I told you earlier, let's try to identify the number of sides we have in this shape. That will help us to identify the number of angles we have in this shape. Now you see that the first thing that we are going to do, let's try to identify the number of sides we have here. Now we start. You could see that here, from this point here up to this point here, is a straight side. Now we count that as 1. Now if we move again, we will also have another straight side here. That is 2. We will also have another side here, make it 3. We have another side here, make it 4. And we have another side here, make it 5. So you will see that in this shape, we have up to 5 sides. In this shape, we have up to 5 sides. Now after identifying our number of sides we have, let's try to identify the number of angles we have in this shape. After identifying the number of sides we have in this shape, now let's try to identify how many angles or corners can we have in this particular shape. Now you will see that, like I told you earlier, an angle is formed where 2 straight sides meet, or where you have 2 sides meet, because side is always a straight line. Now you will see in this shape here we have up to 5 straight lines that make it 5 sides that form the angle. So you will see that here we have one side up here with another side meets at a point, an angle is formed. We have one straight side with another straight side meet at a point, an angle is formed. Now let's try to also check whether we will have a point where we have 2 straight lines meet. Now if I move this line here up with this line here, you could see that these 2 straight sides meet at a point. Now the point where they meet, an angle is also formed. Now you see that we identify one angle, we have 2 angles. Another straight line we have here meet with another straight line, we form an angle. We also have here another straight line here, with another straight line here we form another angle here, and also down we have a vertical line meet with a horizontal line, we form another angle. Now let's try to count how many angles do we have in this shape. Now let's count and see. We're going to have here one angle, this is going to be another angle, this is going to be another angle, we have another angle here, we have another angle here. In each of them you will see 2 sides meet in order to form the angle. Now if we count, we are going to have here 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, 4 angles, 5 angles. Now if you follow very well, you will realize that if you look at the shape, if a shape is having 3 sides, we have how many angles there? When a shape is having 3 sides, you will see that we identify there up to 3 angles. If you go to this second one, you will see when we identify the number of sides we have, we were able to identify up to 5. So you will see that when we identify, look at the number of angles, we also have 5 angles. So this is telling you the number of sides that form the shape will give you the same number of angles. We can look at the last example we have. We also have another shape formed by four straight sides. Now out of these sides here, each of the sides is a straight line. Now you will see that I told you earlier a side is formed by straight lines. So this shape is having up to 4 straight lines. Now we are going to look at where the lines meet, then we identify our angles. Now let's see. If you look at this shape here, we have a horizontal line 1, we have one vertical line, we have another straight line here that is horizontal, we also have another vertical line, meaning the 2 lines are standing and the other 2 lines are lying. So you will see that this 2 is in a horizontal form and the other 2 are in a vertical form. So you will see that the point where 2 sides meet, that's where we always identify the angle. So we have a side here joined with the horizontal side to form an angle. We have another vertical side here joined with a horizontal side to form another angle. We have a horizontal side joined with a vertical side to form another angle, and also we have a vertical side joined with a horizontal side to form another angle. Now let's count the number of angles we have in this shape. Now you could see that when we identify the number of sides, we have up to how much? We have up to 4 sides. Now let's count the number of angles, whether we will also have 4 angles or we will not have 4 angles. Now if we count, we have here 1 angle, we have here another angle, we have here another angle here, we have another angle. So if we count the total, you will see that we have 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, we have 4 angles. A shape made by 4 sides will also give you 4 angles. Now let's move and see. We also have another shape there. And the shape here is saying circle the angles on this shape. It's saying we circle the angles on this shape. Now we have this kind of shape on your screen, and the shape is formed by 3 straight sides. This shape is formed by 3 straight sides. Now we are going to identify the number of angles that we have in this shape. Now you will see that, like I told you earlier, the first thing that you need to do, try to identify the sides, the point where the sides meet, then you identify your angles. Now you will see that if you look at, we have one straight side here that is in a slant form. We also have another straight side that is in a slant form. They meet at a point. Now the point where these 2 meet, an angle is formed. We identify 1 angle. We have where we have 2 straight sides meet, we also have an angle. We also have here another side here joined with another side here. There are 2 straight sides meet at a point to form an angle. So if we count the number of angles we have here, we are going to have a 1, we have 2, we have 3. So we're going to have 1 angle, 2 angles, we have 3 angles. But if you look at earlier, this shape is formed by 3 straight sides. That's the reason why at the end of the day, when we count the number of angles we have up to 3 angles. So any shape that is the number of sides that form a shape, you end up having the same number of angles. Okay. We look at on your screen again, there is also another shape we have there. This type of shape is a shape that is formed by how many straight sides? We can count the number of sides we have. If you count, we are going to have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you will see that in this shape you are seeing on your screen is having up to 7 sides. It's having up to 7 sides. Now our interest here is to identify the angles or to circle the angles that we have. But then before you circle an angle, you have to reflect yourself to what form an angle. We said earlier an angle is formed where two straight sides meet. An angle is formed where two straight sides meet. Now let's look at where we have two straight sides meet, then we identify our angles. Now if you look at up here, we have two straight sides that meet at a point, form an angle. We can also continue and look at where we have two straight sides meet, we identify the angles we have. Now we identify our first angle there. Now let's try to also check the other angles that we have in this shape, because we said earlier this shape is having up to 7 sides. Now you will see that we have one straight side here meet with another straight side, and we said where two straight sides meet, that's where an angle is formed. So we have an angle here. We also have another straight side meeting with another straight side. We are going to have here an angle. We will also have another straight side that will also meet with another straight side. We have an angle. We also have another straight side meet with another straight side. An angle is formed. We have one straight side here meeting with another straight side. An angle here is formed. Now we see that this straight side also meet with this straight side, we form an angle. We have another straight side meeting with another straight side here, we form an angle. Now we identify the number of angles we have in this shape. Now earlier we said it's having up to 7 sides. Now let's check whether we are going to have also the same 7 angles or not. Now let's count and see. We have here 1, we have here 1, we have 1, 1, 1, 1. So let's count the number of angles that we have in this particular shape. We are going to have here 1 angle, we have 2 angles here, 3 angles, 4 angles, 5 angles, 6 angles, we have 7 angles. So you will see that here also we have up to 7 angles. You will see that in this shape we have up to 7 angles. But what is the most important thing here is the number of sides. Because if you are able to identify the number of sides that you have in a particular shape, know that you're going to have the same number of angles in that particular shape. Now we move on and see. We also have another shape we have on your screen. And it's saying that circle the angles on this shape. We also have this angle on the board. On your screen, we can have this angle here on the board. And we even did a similar angle like this, a similar shape like this, shape that is having 4 straight sides. And what we are asked to identify is to identify the number of angles, or we circle the number of angles that we have in this particular shape. Now the first thing that we need to do is to try to make sure that we identify how many sides do we have in this particular shape. If you know the number of sides you have in this particular shape, you will be able to know the number of angles you have in this particular shape. Now let's try to identify the number of sides. You will see that this is going to be a 1 side. We have here what? 2 sides. This will give us 3 sides, and with this will give us 4 sides. We have a shape formed with 4 sides. So we are going to identify how many angles do we have in this shape. Now we said an angle is formed where 2 straight sides meet. Now we are going to check where our 2 straight sides meet, then we identify the angle. Now you will see that we have, this is one straight line that is on a vertical form, and we have another straight line that is on a horizontal form, meet at a point, forms an angle. Wherever they meet at a point, where that point there, an angle is formed. Now we look at also, we have another straight line here that is in a vertical form, meeting with a straight line that is on the vertical and horizontal. You will see that an angle is also formed. We have another straight line here, and another straight line that is in a vertical form, joined here, meeting with a line that is on the horizontal form. We have an angle here. Also we come down to this side here with another side here, forms an angle. Now we can also count the number of angles we have in this particular shape. Now if you count, you're going to have here 1, we have here 1, we have here 1, we also have here 1. But we said earlier in this shape, we have up to how many sides? We have 4 sides. Now after identifying the number of sides we have in this particular shape, now let's try to identify how many angles do we also have in this shape. Now we count and see. We have here 1, we have another 1 here, we have 1 here, we have 1. So we count them all together and see how many angles are we going to have. So if I count, I will have here 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, I will have here 4 angles. Now you see that a shape that is formed with 4 sides also gives us 4 angles. So you have to be very, very mindful of this. And if you look at all the shapes that we discuss here, any shape that is having a particular number of sides, we will also able to identify that number of angles. Good. Now we have another angle here. Said how many angles does this shape have? How many angles does this shape have? So we try to also have the shape. Okay, we have this type of shape on your screen. Also asking for how many angles do we have in this shape. He said how many angles does this shape have? Now we also, first thing, like I said, always try to identify the straight lines or the sides that you have in that, how to call it, particular shape. Then from there you look for the number of angles you have. Now you will see that we have one slant, slant side. We have another straight side here with another slant side. We also have another straight side. Since we have already identified the number of angles we have in this shape, let's try to count them. If we count them, we will know how many angles are we going to have here. We have here 1 angle, we have here 1 angle, we have here 1 angle, we have here another angle. So let's try to count all the angles we have here to check how many angles are we going to have. So if I count, I'm going to have here 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, I will have here 4 angles. So you will see that the shape is made of what? 4 sides. When I count the number of angles I have, it also gives me 4 angles. Now the number of sides that form a shape will also give you the same number of angles. Good. Now we also have a shape on your screen. Here it reads, this shape has 5 angles. Now we are going to confirm. The options there, letter one of them is saying yes and the other one is saying no. Now we are going to look at the shape very well, or examine the face shape, how to call this shape very well. Make sure we know the number of sides first, because the number of sides will help us to identify the number of angles. Now let's try to have the shape here on the board. Okay, now we have this type of shape on your screen, and it's saying that this shape has 5 angles. This shape has 5 angles. Now the first thing, let's try to identify the number of sides we have. Then from there we look for the number of angles. If we know the number of angles, then we will know whether our answer is yes or our answer is no. We have a straight side here meeting with another straight side forms an angle. A straight side here meeting with another straight side forms an angle. We have a straight side here meeting with another straight side forms an angle. We have a straight side meeting with another straight side forms another angle here. We have a straight side here meeting with another straight side here forms an angle. We also have another straight side meeting with another straight side here forms an angle. Now let's try to count how many angles do we have in this shape, because the question reads this shape has 5 angles. Now we're going to confirm that. Now if I have here 1, another one here, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now let's count all the angles we have. So if I count, I will have here 1 angle, 2 angles, 3 angles, 4 angles, 5 angles, 6 angles. So my answer for this shape is 6 angles. Now let's go back to the question. It said this angle has 5 angles. This shape has 5 angles. And in this shape, we have how many angles? When we identify the number of angles we have in this shape, it gives us how much? 6. And the question said it has 5. So what is going to be our answer? The first one is saying yes, the shape has 5 angles. And the second one is saying no, the shape did not have 5 angles. Now let's check which one is correct. When we identify the number of angles that we have in this shape, we were able to have up to how much? 6. So therefore, the correct answer to this question is no, because the shape did not have 5 angles, but the shape is having up to 6 angles. I repeat, the correct answer to this shape is no, because the shape is not having 5 angles, but is having what? Is having 6 angles. Good. Now after we have completed that question and we know that the number of sides is not 5 but 6, now we have a try question for you. And question 1 reads, draw a shape with 4 sides and identify the angles. You draw a shape with 4 sides and identify the angles. Draw a shape that is made of 4 sides and identify the angles. That is question 1. Question 2 reads, identify the number of angles in the following figures. Identify the number of angles in the following figures. Now you will see that in this figure, the first figure that we have is a shape that is having 10 sides. The first figure is a figure, that is having 10 sides, whilst the second figure is a figure that is having 7 sides. The first figure is a figure that is having 10 sides. The second one is a figure that is having 7 sides. So identify the number of angles. So I therefore thank you all. Stay home in order to stay safe. Goodbye.